are about to become a witness.
Captured on camera.
You're free falling and it's like you're living for the first time. It's unreal.
Yeah, baby! The world's most thrilling, most outrageous, most extreme rides.
It goes 95 miles an hour at its top speed.
For a split second on this, you're actually to 4 Gs.
You are about to experience for yourself what happens when designers and engineers push the envelope. And even what happens when they ignore all the laws of gravity and physics.
Oh, my stomach.
With sheer terror promised at every drop, twist, and turn, it's no wonder hundreds of millions of visitors each year go in search of the ride of a lifetime. But how fast is too fast? How high is too high?
They're roller coasters that have pushed the safety envelope. They have gone too far.
Captured on camera, terror rides.
Hypercoasters, gigacoasters. The rides have become so wild these days, it's a challenge to find the words to describe them. Designers and engineers have gone far beyond where we might have dreamed, allowing us to experience speeds and gravitational pull once reserved for race car drivers and fighter pilots. And with about 50 new rides opening each summer, there's a constant race to make rides faster, higher, and scarier. Have we gone too far, too fast?
Some consider the thrill ride to be one of the greatest inventions of mankind. Whether it's a roller coaster, a carnival ride, or one of the newest innovations in amusement technology, the thrill ride elicits a strange combination of terror and pleasure.
Yeah! To be scared is great. That's a good feeling. That's the adrenaline, everything.
The feeling I like is like the butterflies in the stomach sort of thing.
You know, your eyes are tearing up because you're going too fast, and just things that your body's not supposed to be able to take. And you're like, it's a lot of fun.
I feel like I want to go on it, like, again.
There's nothing like the exhilaration felt during and after an amusement park ride. For most of us, it's an occasional treat. For a few others, it's a place for landmark celebrations. And for coaster riding record holder Richard Rodriguez, an amusement park is where he practically lives. This summer, he's taken up residence at Six Flags St. Louis.
This marathon's going to last 100 days. You're confined to this roller coaster, really. And I don't like to think about the 100 days. I just want to take it a day at a time and just try to get through the weekend, and that's kept me going.
No one knows who created the first thrill rides, but history records that medieval Russia offered an icy version of the first roller coaster in the 15th century. Today, however, the thrill ride industry is in the middle of a revolution. Breakthroughs in engineering and computer design have created a new generation of rides. Faster, steeper, taller, scarier. But are the technological marvels safer? Or has that element been left out of the equations that are used in designing today's hyper rides? The new breakthroughs in design technology can be best seen in the world of roller coasters.
Everybody wants to ride coasters. Everybody has recognized that this is the ultimate in outdoor entertainment. And the manufacturers are coming up with some amazing new ideas and new designs to soothe the public's thirst for these new rides.
One of the boldest is the new Hypersonic XLC at Kings Dominion Park in Virginia. designed by Stan Checketts, recognized by theme park insiders as a legendary thrill ride engineer, the hypersonic clearly pushes the outer edge of the thrill ride envelope.
We want to go outside the box. We don't want to build regular coasters that twirl and everything. We just want really exciting high speed and height.
Hypersonic uses a compressed air launch system that is simple in design and revolutionary in application.
What happens, there's a compressor working full bore 24 hours a day, and then that power, we just take that power simply through valving and put it into what we call our shot tank. You convert that power over to pull that coaster, and it's gone. Taken off from an aircraft carrier, the research we did, the highest they'll generally pull is just a little over 2 Gs at any one time. Now, they'll hold that more constant and more longer, but for a split second on this, you're actually to 4 Gs. It's incredible.
Hypersonic XLC will launch you from 0 to 80 in 1.8 seconds. You go up a 90-degree incline, over the top, and then down a 90-degree incline. It's really an incredible ride, probably the ultimate thrill ride I've ever ridden.
The actual thrill is in the takeoff and then going over the top and then diving towards the ground. And it's fun to know you're alive right at this point.
Hypersonic is a short ride, packing all its gut-wrenching effects into 45 seconds. A more traditional approach for a coaster may take a lot more design and a lot more track. Located in Nagashima Spa Land in Japan, Steel Dragon is the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the world. It was designed by American engineer Steve Okamoto, who says, as a kid, he always tried to figure out how rides worked. Now he's giving a new generation something else to figure out.
It goes 95 miles an hour at its top speed. It's about 8,100 feet long, 1.5 miles. The height of it is 97 meters, which is about 318 feet.
Breaking records brings its own design problems.
Because it was so tall, the ride goes very fast, so we had to design our track and our structure and the vehicle to be able to go those high speeds, be able to stand up at the very great heights of the ride.
Steel Dragon may be the tallest and fastest coaster today, but no one knows how long that record will hold. But for the designers, the real test is revealed at the end of the ride.
It's been extremely exciting because to them it's just a huge thrill. I hear thrill. One of the greatest things I do in my life is stand at an exit of one of my rides.
And watch your step as you exit the train to your left.
Millions of us gladly pay our admission for that thrill, but no one takes a ride expecting to get hurt or worse. When we come back, when accidents happen, scary rides turn truly frightening. From the very peak of the world's tallest gigacoaster to the deepest recesses of the human mind in a virtual world, the thrill ride industry has been breaking new ground and making a ride really scary. But the key to a good ride may be the knowledge that it's not really dangerous and that the thrills and fear are all in your mind. Unfortunately, that is not always the case in the world of thrill rides. Sometimes the rides are truly dangerous. And as rides have been getting more extreme, so have the injuries. June 1997, 32 teens are injured and one is killed when a water slide collapses at Waterworld in Concord, California. April 1998, the Demon roller coaster in Gurnee, Illinois, stops in mid-ride, suspending passengers upside down for 2 hours. March 1999, a raft overturns at Six Flags in Texas, killing 1 and injuring 10. The Consumer Product Safety Commission reports that injuries from thrill rides are increasing at an alarming rate. In a recent 7-year period, ride injuries rose almost 30%, sending over 10,000 people to emergency rooms in 1999 alone. Is it a coincidence that the dramatic rise in injuries corresponds to the industry's dramatic demands for faster and taller rides?
We've spent a lot of money making sure that we have all of the latest technology for a safest ride, keeping all of our guests safe, whether they're walking to the ride or actually experiencing the thrill of it.
Our safety records are really good. I think in 98 we had 3 accidents, in 99 we had 3, in 2000 we had 7. Those are low numbers for the amount of people and the amount of rides we have out there.
But numbers like these mean little to Joe and Jane Kurek. Their 14-year-old son Patrick and 2 friends rode this coaster at Bell's Amusement Park near Tulsa, Oklahoma in April 1997.
It threw all 3 boys out of the car. They went flying through the air. Pat was thrown into one of the metal beams that makes up the coaster. It struck him in the back of the head, killing him instantly.
Although it may be statistically safer to step onto a roller coaster than to ride inside of a car, few people anticipate that a visit to an amusement park will end in tragedy.
We sent him off for a day of fun with his friends, and he never came home.
But it is at the traveling carnival, not the big amusement and theme parks, that most people get their first taste of a thrill ride. The first trip on a merry-go-round, the first ride on a Ferris wheel, the first terror on a tiny roller coaster. Unfortunately, despite some oversight from the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the traveling carnival can sometimes be a dangerous place. In March 1998, a teenager died when she was flung from a carnival ride in Austin, Texas. For the first time, a carnival operator was found criminally responsible for a death caused by a malfunctioning ride. He was convicted of manslaughter and received a 30-day jail sentence and 6 years probation.
15-year-old girl was killed on a Himalaya ride. No, it's devastated the whole industry. And I know that absolutely would not want something like that to happen.
Accidents like this have caused many states to stiffen regulations. But creating a fail-safe system to monitor every ride at every carnival and amusement park is no easy task.
The state of California has approximately 1,000 rides listed right now, seeking permits and with applications in. The approximate size of them, they vary. They vary all the way from single individual riding type rides to large rides that carry 40 or 50 people, approximately.
Blocked properly.
In California, each ride in every carnival is safety checked at least once a year by a state inspector.
So we're going to go around, I'm going to check the whole foundation. It's not blocked properly, then we've got problems. A ride can tip over, we can lose bend parts in the ride, so it's got to be real level, blocked properly. I checked my footings are all good, my electrical all looks pretty good under here, my hoses, all the hydraulic hoses are, they're in good shape. As he runs the ride around, I'll be checking my pins, the pins that connect this light bracket up there. You'll see the pins up there.
The federal government leaves it up to individual states to regulate ride safety. As of June 2001, 14 states don't inspect rides at amusement and theme parks, and 10 states don't inspect rides at traveling carnivals. California is one of the few states demanding an annual inspection of every ride. But some believe this is not enough, especially when considering the physical strain a ride goes through in traveling from town to town. Even carnival owners believe more oversight might be necessary.
My opinion is that the state needs to allocate more money to the industrial safety and get more inspectors and do more follow-up. It's very important to us to make sure that we do everything we can to make them safe.
What could be safer than getting your thrills and chills from a mega coaster that never even leaves the station? Next, real fun on a virtual coaster. Each new breakthrough in thrill ride design seems to test the barrier of what is physically possible, both for the ride and for the rider. But what if a designer were not constrained by the physical limitations of gravity and steel? What if the laws of physics could be suspended for just the length of a roller coaster ride? The result might look something like this. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the virtual thrill ride.
You see traditional parks and you have all over the world incredible thrill rides and traditional roller coasters. They've built higher and faster and better. But in my opinion, nothing equates to being able to ride the roller coaster of your imagination.
In downtown Chicago, a 5-story building may well be a precursor to the amusement park of the future. Disney Quest Chicago opened in 1999, a new vision for the company whose name is synonymous with theme parks.
We call it an indoor interactive theme park. Everything that happens at Disney Quest is interactive. The guest becomes the lead player in all of the shows and controls and manipulates the outcome of the shows as well as some of the progress in the story. So it has the whole mix of entertainment that you do in a full-on outdoor theme park, but of course it is much smaller and more compressed than that.
Among the experiences available at Disney Quest is the virtual reality Live the Comics attraction, in which you take on supervillains with a magic sword. In the virtual Pirates of the Caribbean, a 280-degree screen and 3D goggles allow you to pilot a pirate ship through enemy-laden waters. And when it comes to scary rides, there is perhaps nothing scarier than Cyberspace Mountain.
Cyberspace Mountain is, I think, represents the final frontier of roller coaster engineering. A lot of people might be scared initially, but then thrilled later.
The breakthrough in Cyberspace Mountain is not just that the ride is virtual, but that the rider gets to design the coaster himself.
Now, if a button's lit up, that means you can use it. If it's not lit, that means the track won't fit where you're building and you have to pick something else. Don't forget about the special track buttons.
Big difference between this ride and a real roller coaster is that you can, do things that probably you wouldn't be able to do in a real roller coaster. So it kind of, expands your mind, you get to use your imagination. So yeah, it's kind of exciting.
The designers at Walt Disney Imagineering studied the best roller coasters in the world before designing Cyberspace Mountain.
We wanted to ride and actually get the feelings and understand exactly what various loops and twists feel like in the real world, so we could try to approximate that in the virtual world. So very quickly we kind of got to, okay, so these are the things real roller coasters do. Now what are some of the things that this virtual roller coaster could do that you could never do in the real world? And jumping was one of them, leaving the track and then, re-engaging with the track at a later position.
The riders get a choice of different worlds in which to ride their coaster. They get to choose everything: the speed of the car, the design, even how many loops, drops, twists, and rolls they will experience. And when they're done with their plan, the computer rates their self-designed roller coaster on a scale of 1 to 5.
Your 4 and your 5 are really when you get into the real thrill ride aspect of Cyberspace Mountain. We see more people who design it as a 3, they ride it, and then they say, I can handle the 5. And they come back and they get back in line, and we let them do it as many times as they want till they're satisfied.
Okay, we got thrill number 5 and go upside down about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times during this ride. Are you okay with it? All right, that's great. We're going to ride it. Okay, follow me, please.
Once the ride is designed, the riders move on to the centerpiece of Cyberspace Mountain. Not a coaster car, but a military-level motion simulator.
We were aware that the military was using a simulator that did full 360 pitch and roll moves. And as a matter of fact, theirs also has a pivoting move on it. And the particular platform we have in another configuration, in a more robust configuration, is actually used for F-16 fighter pilot training. We, of course, didn't have to do quite as much as the F-16 pilot needs to do.
Here we go.
The simulator can create the sensation of dropping, turning, banking, and spinning 360 degrees. For 3 minutes, riders experience the dream coasters of their imagination.
Dizzy. Oh, where are we? Oh.
And if you think planning your own ride would ruin the surprise or thrill, think again.
All the loops that we had on ours, it was pretty dizzy. Whoa.
I was surprised because when you go to Great America and you go on the roller coasters there, you feel those drops, but at the same time, I didn't think that in one of these simulations you would feel that.
So the initial adrenaline rush that you have, just when you're going up and you're dropping and just, I don't know, it's a very out-of-body experience, I think. But once you go through with it, it just feels cool.
I think I want to try something more scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wonderful thing about virtual worlds is that they can take you anywhere your imagination flies. And so I think the potentials are limitless. I mean, really the limits of imagination are the limits of where you can go with virtual attractions.
Oh, my stomach.
It is unlike any real-world roller coaster. You know, the difference being you can engineer experiences that you could physically never engineer in the real world. It's just the loops, the corkscrews. I don't think even NASA could engineer a real roller coaster that would equate the experience to being in our simulator.
When one can ride a roller coaster on a different planet without the constraints of gravity or the laws of physics, the question becomes, what could possibly top that?
Dizzy. I'm pretty dizzy.
When we come back, the combination of speed and height mixes with such terrifying elements as water, weightlessness, and wings. When the first roller coasters were developed, few would have imagined that the rides of today would be able to go as fast or bring as much thrill as they do. But the latest in amusement ride technology is so astounding, designers have clearly proven the sky's the limit.
When it's scary, it gets your adrenaline up, and then you get more pumped for the ride. It makes it more fun.
The takeoff, the initial burst of energy is really amazing.
One ride at Six Flags Magic Mountain in California promises to be so indescribable that it is simply called X. X takes the coaster far beyond its current definition. The steel track is designed like a coaster, but instead of cars, the riders are individually suspended. Instead of riding on top of the rails, the riders are on the side of the track. And in addition to the loops and drops of a traditional coaster, each individual seat spins independently. Propulsion systems are also on the cutting edge of coaster research. Stan Checkett's Hypersonic uses compressed air. Another new acceleration technology is magnetic propulsion. Superman the Escape accelerates riders from 0 to 100 miles per hour in less than 7 seconds. The ride is less than 30 seconds long and is deceptively simple. One track that simply curves straight up. The thrill comes from the speed.
Right when you went off, it just made you scream right when you went off.
push and pull of magnets creates the sensation of being shot out of a cannon. The track is just long enough to let gravity and inertia slow down the rocketing car, providing 6.5 seconds of weightlessness at the very top of the track. At Cedar Point Park in Ohio, Superman the Ultimate Escape offers one other enticement. The riders don't just go up, they spiral. It's the newest twist on the latest technology. That one extra bit of oomph on a ride pushes the boundaries of what is expected or what is possible. Yet another variation on the non-traditional coaster is the water flume ride. This type of amusement had its beginning in the old-fashioned Tunnel of Love. Today, the water ride competes in speed and height with many of the hypercoasters. In addition, of course, they have one other thrill. The Perilous Plunge at Knott's Berry Farm in Anaheim, California, is perhaps the premier water ride in the country. It is currently the fastest, steepest, wettest water coaster in the world.
This ride is 121 feet tall, 115-foot drop, which is the tallest water ride ever built. The design was very difficult because we wanted to go with the world's largest, biggest water ride in a very small area.
Niagara Falls at 176 feet is 55 feet higher than Perilous Plunge, but the water ride is nearly as steep. The 70-degree angle of its drop is steeper than most standard coasters and unheard of in other water rides. But the design problem with the ride was not height nor the drop.
We knew that we could get the boat up the lift. We knew we could get it down. But could we stop it in a smooth, safe manner? And it was a huge challenge and required a lot of testing time.
In order to stop the careening coaster within the limited area and do it safely, Knott's hoped to rely on the same technology used in other rides, magnets. During the design and the construction of the Perilous Plunge, Jeff Kruger only imagined how much fun he would have on the actual ride.
I think the lift is an exciting part of the ride because depending on the speed of it and how long it takes, the anxiety, the anticipation is incredible. And this one's even better because you're going up at such a steep angle. This is a 40-degree angle, which is a very steep angle for any kind of lift like this. And now what we do is we slow it down at the top up here to get you a chance to really think about what's going to happen to you. And the view up here is fantastic. Today you can see the mountains and the snow. And this is where the anticipation, you can see the drop coming up, and this right here is what it's all about. Woo-hoo! Woo! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Yeah, baby! Southern California in the winter. Whew! When I rode it the first time, I didn't know what to expect down here, and I was really pleasantly surprised at how wet you got and the feeling. And the braking system worked better than anybody thought. It was very smooth. We were very happy.
Computer design and new breakthroughs in technology and physics have allowed the thrill ride to break into new and unheard of territories. The question now is, how far can it go?
I've been doing this for 25 years. I started seeing the 100-foot coasters, and then I started seeing the 200-foot. Now you're seeing the 300-foot coasters. I think we're just seeing the starting edge. 25 years from now, who knows where we're going to go. I guess that's extreme.
You might be surprised. Up next, we'll see how some designers have gone decidedly low-tech, creating rides whose thrills come from their utter, terrifying simplicity. A high-end hypercoaster, one over 200 feet tall with speeds over 70 miles an hour, will cost as much as $50 million and will take anywhere from 1 to 5 years to design, engineer, and build. But on the other end of the spectrum, from the hypercoaster and the computer-simulated thrills, are a new generation of rides that make a virtue out of simplicity. Call them low-tech or no-tech rides. Rides that go by such names as Fly-by-Wire, Nothing But Net, and Dive Devil replace the cyber thrill with old-fashioned gravity. Dallas, Texas is home to the Zero Gravity Thrill Park. They have stripped the thrill ride to its bare essentials, eliminating seat belts, seats, cars, tracks, engines, loops, and rails. In Nothing But Net, it's just you plummeting straight down. Nothing But Net is simply a 16-story tower with a net down below. The rider puts on a patented harness that is designed to make them fall on their backs. Ride operators claim that it eliminates the threat of head or spine injuries. When the ride starts, the rider's body becomes a projectile hurtling to Earth at a speed of 32 feet per second squared. The Texas Blast-Off takes the simple concept of a slingshot. Enormous elastic bungee cords attached to the two-seat car are stretched for over 100 feet. When the stretch is complete, the riders are launched like a rock from a sling. Even for designers of high-tech supercoasters, there's nothing like the simplicity of gravity.
There's always something about, dropping or falling that really gets your heart going, and that is something that those bungees or the sky coasters give you. You just have that falling sensation. I mean, that's a really great thrill to ride those rides.
The new generation of low-tech, no-tech rides returns the thrill ride to its roots in the school playground, where the scariest ride a 5-year-old might experience is the slide or the high swings. The Dive Devil at Six Flags Magic Mountain in California is very much like a playground swing. It just happens to be a swing that's 150 feet high. Hemet, California high school students Matthew, Payush, and Fernando went to Magic Mountain to compete in a physics challenge. They tested a scientific theory or two on the Dive Devil.
Over here, guy.
Well, first you think it's got to be pretty fun, pretty unique experience, but it looks pretty scary. I mean, once you get right underneath and see these guys above you and screaming and stuff. But I think it'll be fun. I mean, it looks fun.
All right, flyers, keep your elbows locked for the first initial free fall. When you pass the platform right here, open your arms and fly, all right? You guys have fun.
Thank you.
Pass.
It's a little bit scary. It's different from being on the ground looking up. A lot different.
Yeah, now you're in the reality of it.
It's about to get a lot worse.
Though a simple concept, the Dive Devil is designed to create an increasing sense of anticipation in the rider. First, riders are suspended on their stomachs, unable to move. Then they are slowly pulled backwards and up into the air, giving the riders plenty of time to think about how high they are.
People are getting way small. People are getting tight. Yeah, dude, this is unreal, dude. Oh, it's high.
Hey, so we let go of arms once you get to that platform?
Let go after you've already hit the bottom. This is scary. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Tower Alpha, 3, 2, 1, fly.
Fly, pull, Piyush. Where is it? On your side. Yeah, you let go, Fernando. You can let go.
Unreal. You're free falling and it's like you're living for the first time. It's unreal.
Oh man, at first when you're just falling, you don't feel anything. So after you actually feel that you're actually swinging, that's when you're a little bit reassured that you're not going to die.
The stripped-down simplicity of Dive Devil is what excites thrill riders like Matthew.
When you're getting pulled up backwards, that
you're watching everything go from like normal size to smaller and smaller, and then you're looking down on all these things, and you look straight down, you see these rocks under you, not reassuring at all. You see these people, their heads get about that big, and you're like, wow, I'm really high up, and I'm really crazy for doing this. Hardest part is when you're at the top, and they say, pull the 3, 2, 1, fly, and then somebody's got to pull it.
Forward, and I'm trying to pull it. I'm like, oh, here it goes.
There's an initial shock, and then afterwards, you realize that it's like nothing you've ever felt before in your entire life. No, you can let go.
I'd say the best feeling is when you're soaring above the people here, and you think in your mind, these guys are not living right now. I mean, I'm having the greatest time. Anybody who, you know, doesn't go on this because they're scared isn't enjoying it. It's amazing. It's probably the best thing here.
Did they gain any insights into physics? For the moment, that will have to wait until they get back to the classroom. But the contrast between the experience before and after the ride is astonishing and offers a clue about the allure that thrill rides hold over millions of Americans.
It's fun. Yeah, it's living on the edge of life, pretty much.
Unbelievable rush. Like nothing. I mean, like bungee jumping, something like this, skydiving. It's something that it just triggers something in your brain that just makes you feel alive.
Between the top of the coaster and the bottom, between the height of the free fall and the ground, between the end of the line and the end of the ride, many changes take place in a rider's brain. Up next, it's all in your mind. Or is it? Designing a scary ride demands a high level of engineering skill, but the designer is engineering more than simply steel, gravity, and friction. A good thrill ride must elicit screams, terror, and ultimately pleasure. A good ride goes beyond the rider's conscious mind to work directly on the biochemistry of the human brain.
If you look at a kind of a bottom line, how your brain would define it, it's usually what feels good. It usually involves the release of a certain group of neurochemicals, monoamines, especially dopamine, also the endorphins, the opiate-like peptides in the brain. With fear, usually there's a lot of arousal that occurs, so norepinephrine is released, but also some of the stress hormones are really released in high amounts. It's a bit of fear that you play with. That kind of asymmetry can release pleasure chemicals ultimately.
It's only within the last couple of decades that scientists have been able to understand the precise biochemical workings of the brain, and there is much that is still a mystery. Two key elements of the thrill ride are the chemicals dopamine and norepinephrine. Both these chemicals are also important in the treatment of mental disorders such as depression and even schizophrenia. Perhaps that is why, unwittingly, many have described the most extreme thrill rides as crazy or insane.
You lose your mind a little bit. When we discuss thrill rides, and part of this is shutting off the frontal lobe temporarily, you're out of your mind. You're crazy a bit for that. Wow, sure.
The thrill ride experience also begins with anticipation. The anticipatory climb up a roller coaster apparently kicks off floods of chemicals with each clicking sound of the track.
It's producing this sensation that you're going away from ground and you're going further and further away from safety. Helps to release more norepinephrine. It keys up the dopamine system to act again. And it heightens the whole sympathetic autonomic nervous system to be on full alert. That gets all the organs, the glands, the hormones tensed up to the right moment so that really you can experience the thrill.
At this point, a roller coaster hits the part of the ride that nearly everyone seems to say is their favorite, probably due to the extreme effect on the human brain.
Love that first drop.
Probably the first drop.
When you're going on the first drop, pretty scary from the drop.
The drop.
At that point, that change in your vestibular apparatus, your balance, sends a whole flood of information from your inner ear. So when you start to drop, the inner ear is getting this flood of information that, oh my God, we've lost gravity. The fluid in the inner ear starts to rotate in a different way. We're accelerating, and that sends a whole flood of information into the brainstem and throughout the brain. This is at a big alert, big alert.
In response to the sudden infusion of the chemical norepinephrine, the brain and body begin automatic responses to release endorphins and opiates, the pleasure chemicals.
It's kind of interesting because the musculature that makes your mouth go round and the center of your face and your eyebrows go up, all these are controlled by muscles in an area in the brain that is loaded with opiate peptides. And doing this can also release those pleasure chemicals. It's a way of releasing tension.
The terror of the drop transforms the physical responses of a grown adult into the reflexes of a clutching infant.
So it's just hold on. And you can even see infants. When that starts to happen, when you take a baby and lift them up, they grab on tighter, and if you give them a little thrill, they hold on tighter and tighter and tighter. And you can see people, when they're coming down, they're starting to really get down, they're holding on as tight, just like they were when they were an infant.
Dr. Fallon believes this powerful short-term stress on the body and the brain actually may be good for us.
Those little surprises are really very useful to our brain. It keeps us aware, awake, interested, and it gives us pleasure. And I think what thrill rides do is by affording a pretty safe environment, really, but with enough things that we don't know exactly what's going to happen, we don't know exactly the way we're going to respond to it. The brain really likes that. I've tried to imagine during some of the more spectacular rides that are available now, what's going on. I go, well, now, I know my cerebellum is doing this, and we're doing that, I can feel the cortisol. But when you try to hold on to those thoughts, you just lose it. And you're just, with everybody else, just screaming, and that's it.
Oh, my God.
Surprisingly, the psychological responses and physical sensations on the virtual rides are the same as they are on the amusement park and carnival rides. What's the likelihood that virtual rides will ever replace real-world rides?
Oh, my stomach.
Well, I don't think virtual rides will ever take the place of real rides. I think they're two different things, and you can have fun doing both of them, and I think there will be continual development in both of those areas.
In either case, virtual or real-world rides, despite the out-of-control feelings that keep bringing us back for more, to get the full psychological and physical benefits of the experience, we have to believe that the rides are truly safe. But Florida Ride Inspector Brad Mosier cautions us to keep our eyes wide open before we get on any ride.
Follow all warning signs. Don't do anything stupid. Don't try to move around in the ride or undo a lap bar. Watch the action of the ride and then make a decision, is this what I want to put my body through? If the ride looks ragtag to you, then it probably is, okay? If the operator doesn't look like he's paying attention, he's probably not. That's when you need to make a decision, do I really want to ride this ride?
As for Richard Rodriguez, he's more than satisfied he'll be safe for the next couple of months. And in the hour since we last saw him, the ride fanatic who's chasing his 15th world roller coaster riding record has ridden the boss another 15 times around. Thrill seekers will spend $10 billion this year at parks and carnivals in search of the fastest, scariest rides around. Safety experts still caution riders not to get too caught up in the excitement. Regardless of the reputation of the park or carnival, accidents can and do happen. That's our report for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm John Siegenthaler.
For information on upcoming programs, go to prime.msnbc.com.